The tropics, they are heating up. Rainfall finally falls across west central Indiana, and we have your Weather Farm 7-day forecast coming up next at the Weather Farm. Good evening. Welcome to the Weather Farm. I'm meteorologist Christopher Hale. Here at the Weather Farm in northeast Hendricks County, we have a current temperature sitting at 64 degrees, dew point around 61. It's currently not raining, but we have had nearly a quarter of an inch of rain here at the Weather Farm for today. We expand our view. We see the temperatures at the top of the hour. Crawfordsville, you're at 66. Lebanon, you're also at 66. Brownsburg, 67, as is Danville. Temperatures will generally fall a few more degrees overnight to near 60 degrees over our area. Our drought monitor that's released every Thursday had most of Indiana in either an abnormally dry, moderate, or even pockets of severe drought. We saw precipitation across the 4-county region yesterday, generally in that quarter to 1/2 inch rain. Boone County, you were a little bit lighter in your precipitation totals, with nearly around 1/10 of an inch. But today we've seen a little bit less precipitation across our region. So we take a look at our region. As I mentioned here at the Weather Farm, we've seen 0.22 inches. The Indianapolis International Airport, you've only seen 4/100ths. We have a general swath of about a quarter of an inch, but Crawfordsville, you are the big winner today with nearly 6/10 of an inch of rain. If we take a look at our radar, we do see that most of our precipitation is moving out of Indiana. There was a severe thunderstorm watch for parts of Kentucky and Ohio that has since expired. The daytime heating has lost all the energy in the atmosphere, so those storms don't really have anything to help get them going and feed on that instability in the air. Again, if we take a look at our temperatures around the region, expanding our view just a little bit slightly, we see temperatures are generally in the mid-60s. Indianapolis, you are the exception. You're sitting at 70. Evansville, you are at 74. Louisville at 72. Again, temperatures will drop about 5 to 6 more degrees overnight. The thing you've probably noticed if you have been outside, especially today and this evening, is the dew point. The dew points are running in the mid-60s across most of Indiana at this hour. 50s are off to our north and west, and that's where they're going to stay for the next several days as we're under this influence of this upper level low to our south and west. If we take a look around the Midwest, we see that there aren't really any watches or warnings at this hour. There's just a small aerial river flooding warning, parts of southwestern lower Michigan, just north and west of Grand Rapids, but nothing here in the Hoosier State. But the thing that we are going to pay attention to, and the thing that will impact our weather, could possibly bring those river flood watches and warnings to our area later this week, is what is forming down in the Caribbean with Hurricane Helene. So let's just take a look. Helene, again, is supposed to become a hurricane over the next 48 hours. And we also see another wave off the African coast that is expected to develop. That wave that comes off the African coast has a good chance of developing into a hurricane as it moves towards the central Atlantic. Again, we're going to continue to watch Helene. We see it here on the satellite image. It's getting its act together. It has a lot of convective thunderstorms around what's that developing low pressure system. It is in an area of favorable wind shear, so winds at the 850 millibar level and then winds higher around 500 millibars. They're not in opposite directions, so that helps aid the storm development. And also, we see here the blues and greens. Helene is in a very moisture-rich environment, so it's not fighting that dry air, which oftentimes gets sucked into a core of a system and can also help tear it apart. So there's a lot of good positive things for Helene to develop into a hurricane later this week. And the thing that we want to watch is, well, where is Helene going to go? You know, we mentioned this wave coming off Africa. It's way out there. We're not going to really worry about it. We are going to focus about Helene. And so we look at 3 different models here at the Weather Farm. The first one we're going to look at is the GFS model. And so by about Wednesday into Thursday, we start to see Helene moving from the Yucatan up towards the Florida Panhandle, making landfall around a 970 millibar low, and then it kind of arcs back toward Indiana, and then kind of falls apart and loses its tropical characteristics and its moisture. The other model we're going to look at here is the NAM model. This one is very much an aggressive model. You see that low deepening to about 946 millibars, 951 at landfall. Not sure it's going to get that intense, but it does bear something to watch, and it too does kind of fall apart as it goes through Indiana. And our final model here is the European model. It, like the GFS, brings the hurricane into the Panhandle at about a 968 millibar low, and then it does pinwheel back through Indiana. It is a little more aggressive with the precipitation in our region. So that is one thing that we are going to have to watch over the next several days. So how will this all play out with our temperatures? So, this past weekend we did enter the season of fall. So fall began on Sunday. We have an average temperature of 76, but by the first day of winter, that falls to 37 degrees. Our lows drop from 55 at the beginning of fall to about 23 the first day of winter. And as I mentioned earlier, our lows tonight will generally be around 60 degrees, maybe some upper 50s in those outlying areas across most of Indiana, warming to the low to mid 70s in our region tomorrow under that cloud cover. It's not going to be an all-day rain, about a 40% chance, but those clouds will impact our temperature. And tomorrow night's going to be about a carbon copy of this evening, with temperatures generally 58 to 62 degrees. And then we look on to Thursday. Again, almost a carbon copy of Wednesday. Wednesday and Thursday, pretty similar. And this is when we start to look at how is Helene going to affect our weather here. We see Friday, this particular model wants to show the temperature is about 75 degrees. There could be very little diurnal deviation in our temperatures. Once Helene leaves, we look at the first week of October and we see temperatures are forecast to be slightly above normal, so in those mid 70s. And this isn't a good sign, so whatever rain we get from Helene this weekend is going to help ease that drought just a little bit, but the 8 to 14 day outlook for the first week of October takes us back into a drier pattern. So let's take a look at that forecast here. As I mentioned, 74 the next couple of days. Friday, 73 as we start to see those effects from Helene. Saturday's not going to be an all-day rain. Don't change your plans. But temperatures are generally going to be slightly below average Sunday through Tuesday of next week. We hope you've enjoyed your time here at the Weather Farm. We hope to see you soon.